So we want to see how the students are doing with this class, what they think about it. So joining us now, Jordan Oliver. Hello, Jordan.
Hello.
You're a senior.
Yes.
Army is in the future, correct? Mm-hmm. So you have a job. That's
there's the bell.
There's the bell. Sorry. We'll just give them a minute to get out. Hello and welcome to On Deadline. I'm Kendra Nichols.
I'm Amanda St. Hilaire.
And I'm Dennis Owens.
If you're listening for the first time, we are journalists for ABC 27 News in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
But on this podcast, we talk about issues that affect people all over.
These are the conversations you don't hear on the news. We're different generations with different experiences, so we don't always agree.
And that's not just a polite way of calling you old, Dennis. No. But we do get very personal, we get very real, and hopefully we get you thinking.
All right, millennial.
Okay, if he's old, what am I? Like in between? Okay. So we are recording on April 3rd, 2018. We are on location today at Northern York High School. That's in Dillsburg, York County, Pennsylvania, home of the polar bears. And we are here to talk about personal finance. Here's the background on how we ended up here today. ABC 27 ran a brief story in our Consumer Watch segment about credit cards versus debit cards. Math teacher Shannon Trossel saw the segment and contacted me about the personal finance class that she teaches here at Northern High School. And after I read her email, I was like, you know what, I need to take her class. So I'm just going to, let's just go there and do a podcast, and we'll finally know what we're supposed to do.
It is not uncommon in newsrooms across America for when you get into actual personal finance, nobody has a clue.
Right. I had no clue. So thank you, math teacher Shannon Trossel. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And we kind of got our dates mixed up too. And we just surprised her, but she was willing to go with the flow, and here we are. So we like that. We already like you since you just go with it. So let's talk about personal finance, how this class came about.
Well, one day our department chair asked if anyone would be interested in writing curriculum for a personal finance course, and I volunteered immediately. I feel that this is a subject I feel very strongly about, and that I felt it was important that our students learn this information as early as possible, because I feel like we had to, as adults, learn it as we go.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel so strongly about this topic?
I feel that debt in America just really holds people back from their dreams and being able to accomplish what they want to accomplish in life. So many times you hear families saying, I wish I could, but, you know, and the but usually comes with still paying the student loan, still paying on the house, got a car payment. So just the amount of debt really, I feel, is a hindrance.
Well, I was telling her, my first credit card, I went to Shippensburg University. I was walking out of Cub, and there's a table set up. They're like, get a free credit card and a T-shirt. And I was like, yeah, I'll sign up.
Yeah.
I graduated and I had $1,500 worth of debt. And I was like, whoa, what happened? So I had to move back home with my parents for 2 months to
So it wasn't so free.
No, it wasn't. And my dad wouldn't let me make long distance phone calls because he's like, you can't afford it. You have $1,500
Not only that, you bought a $1,500 T-shirt.
I know.
That's pretty much what it was.
But we didn't have a class like that. I wasn't thinking about it. So I think this is great. And one of the key things you talk to your students about is being debt-free.
Yes.
And making sure they don't create that hole that is so hard to dig out of.
That's right.
So when they first come into class, I'm sure I know the class has gained in popularity. They've been doing it for about 3 years now. So when they first come into class, they have an expectation of what they think they're going to do, or you use what's going on in their world to teach?
I try to apply the course as much to where they are in life. Some of them have part-time jobs. Some of them don't have a job at all. So for the students that do have jobs, when we're making budgets, I try to base that on the actual income that they have now. Other students would get fictitious incomes and fake jobs for the activities and the purposes that we need to use.
So what do we need to know, especially after teaching this class for a few years now? What are some of the popular misconceptions? I am selfishly asking this. Because
we want
like
the
Dennis
cliff
said,
notes.
I think we all need to be in your class.
Help us.
Sure. I think one of the big misconceptions is credit cards versus debit cards. A lot of times people feel that a credit card's the right way to go, and that, you know, a debit card can't do everything a credit card can do. A debit card can do everything a credit card can do except go into debt. If you don't have the money in your account, you're not going to be making that purchase.
Should we have credit cards at all? Because you always hear you have to have that credit card to help with your credit score and build the credit.
That's a good question. That is another misconception. You don't have to have a credit card to build a credit score. Everybody, I can see you all have cell phones, and the day you sign up for a cell phone plan, you've started the credit ball rolling. As long as you're making payments and you're in good standing with your companies that you're making payments to, you're going to have a good credit score.
I started working on credit long before cell phones were even invented, so there's a difference there. But I want to ask you about the debit card versus credit card, because now on the security side,
Yes.
I was always told use a credit card because if somebody steals it or there's a fraudulent something or other, that it's on the credit card and then they got to work it out with whoever stole it. But if it comes out of your bank account, now you got to rectify that with your bank and
you may not get that money back.
And you may not get that money back. So from a security sense, sometimes the credit card is safer than the debit card.
Actually, that's another misconception.
Okay.
When you get a debit card from your bank, look at them. There's a Visa symbol down in the bottom corner. It maintains the same credit card standards that your credit card company would honor. And when you're swiping your debit card, if you hit that credit button, it kicks into Visa's code of conduct, I guess we could say. And if it is ever compromised, then it is covered and you are not liable for those charges.
Wow, good to know.
So
2 minutes into a podcast and I'm learning real good stuff.
Light
She also,
bulbs.
in a very polite way, told you were wrong.
Yeah,
that's right.
I love how she did that too. She was so like,
Let me just tell you, she does it all the time and not so polite sometimes. So
I'm always polite.
yeah.
But so when you go to swipe that card and you pick debit or credit, if you pick credit, you are going to be more protected, even though you are using a debit card.
That's right.
Oh,
yes.
that's
wow. I don't think I ever really knew what the difference was because
No.
the card's the same and it says
Well, I
debit
always
card.
wondered why they were like, this is also a credit card. I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I never realized that was one way it's applying itself.
Well,
that it
and,
gives you
and
that
I think
protection.
on credit you sign and debit you put your PIN number
Right,
in.
but
Those are
soon you might not have to sign anymore. We just did that story in Consumer Watch that they might not make you sign for your credit cards anymore, but it'll be up to the store and stuff like that. But so when it comes to your students who already have a job, so you help them break down what they should be doing with the money they're making. So I'm guessing we're breaking that up into different categories. So what are those categories?
That's right. Some of the categories are saving, food, entertainment, car-related like auto or gas. And then we also have a category for giving.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. And what do you think students are the most surprised with, how their paycheck doesn't go very far?
I think once they write it down and see, like actually see the numbers and where, I think a lot of our students are really surprised at how much income they really have. Because as soon as they get that paycheck, it's like a race to zero. How quickly can I spend this, or what bills do I already have lined up that it has to go straight to? But when we put it down on paper and you see how much you're really bringing in that month, then they're surprised at, well, where's it all going? And then we write it all down and see where things are going and how much extra you're spending it on Dunkin' or Starbucks.
Well, and that's the thing. When you're swiping, sometimes it's just kind of mindlessly going about what you typically do. And when my husband and I took a closer look at our finances, we were shocked at how much we spend on food. Part of that is because neither one of us is going to be a great chef of our time. But we said, okay, there are definitely some easy things that we can go and cut back, and we're going to have a lot more wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my dad used to say, too, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep.
That's exactly right. And that's a big theme in the class, too. Live like no one else now so you can live like no one else later. And if you learn how to handle your money now and budget and manage what you're given later on, you're really going to have a grasp on these things and understand how much you can give, save, and invest.
Do you give them an idea? Is there a magic number of how much that you should try to save from your paycheck?
At this stage right now, we're trying to get them on the 10 to 15% savings. Just try to save as much as you can, with what you're given. The goal for the course, or the first foundation, I guess we could say, is to save a $500 emergency fund. So just for those little emergencies, lose your phone, drop your phone in the toilet or something, any of those things that happen, then that $500 is typically enough to cover one of their emergencies.
Well, I'm excited to hear from the students.
Yeah, they have actually a couple. We're going to talk to two in just a minute, and they have some personal experiences where this class has helped them in real life. One of the other things we talked about, though, is how we would never think when we were at 18 to think about retirement, right? These kids are already thinking about that. So that's something I think parents should also encourage, and it might seem weird. I have a 17-year-old. I would never think like, hey, son, you need to start thinking about
the kids in this
retirement.
classroom, the retirement is like their eyes glaze over.
Right. They're like,
they
what?
can relate to it. But,
Right.
but assure me you will be there like that you have to start really thinking about it. And it's a lot easier if you start saving at an early age because then you get that compound interest.
That's right. And we teach them to start as early as possible. The recommendation is to wait until you're out of college and you're established in your career, then start saving for retirement. But I also tell our students for investing, as soon as you have that first paycheck from your first job, you're eligible to start investing. So I give them that option too. Or give them the information for just knowing going forward, I can start now at 18 or I can wait until after college.
And those couple of years can make a difference too.
They make a huge difference.
Do you also talk in this class about college and debt? And it's something that kids need to consider. Often people are pushed, you got to go to college, you need to go to college, and it's just not for everybody. And it can lead to a lot of debt. Is that something you talk about as well?
Yes. With college planning, you're right. The 4-year college traditional road is the one that's being pushed. It is also probably one of the most expensive. And over 4 years, that can really turn into quite a debt. So though I encourage college, I do understand that it's not for everyone. And I try to encourage my students into the field that is the best for them. Look at what you're good at, look at what your interests are and follow that path. And it may not always be a 4-year college. Maybe it's 2 years or a trade school, or maybe it's just an online certification, to keep going with what they're interested in.
Or maybe it's figuring out what you want to do and taking a year, because I think right now the push is not only for the 4-year school, but to start your education or your training right away. And that's a lot of times when you end up signing a document that you don't really understand what it is or how much debt it's going to tie you to.
So we want to find out what the students think of this class. Joining us now, Jordan Oliver, a senior heading to the Army. Welcome. Thanks for being here, Jordan, and talking to us. So you already have a job, right?
Yes.
So you've been able to apply this class now. Mm-hmm. So tell us what you think about the class. Is it what you expected?
Well, I learned a lot more than I was expecting to learn. To be honest, I was kind of hoping it'd just be an easy class just for math credit.
We love
like the honesty.
Yeah.
But it's not a hard class, but it's really, really useful for stuff you do in the real world, like making money, putting that money where it needs to go, not spending it on stuff you can't afford, just things like that.
And
How does a teacher telling you not to spend money on stuff you can't afford actually work?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. A lot, we learned earlier in the year that it's 10% in class knowledge and then 90% mental. You gotta in your head tell yourself not to spend this money. Yeah, discipline.
So you have to take that knowledge and apply it. Mm-hmm. What has been the hardest part in applying?
Well, right now my saving is really simple. I just put a couple bucks in. That's the hardest thing for me. I make enough money to pay for my insurance and my gas, but at the same time, I just get the urge to buy some food or something that I want, and I'm just still trying to balance that out.
Me too. Me too.
All of us are. But the mental discipline, it sounds really easy, right? But in practice, it's hard.
It's not the easiest thing.
So, what do you think? We talked about this when we were doing our interview, but what do you think other kids should know? This class has been around for 3 years. Not all school districts offer this class. So what is your advice to other students out there who might be thinking about taking the class?
Well, I just think that, here in Northern, they're thinking about making it a graduation requirement. So whether or not you want to take it, you still have to.
Do it.
Yeah.
If they have it at other schools and it's not a graduation requirement, I would just say just take it. It's so helpful just to know how credit really works and how bad debt can get, and just saving for the future. Because like you said, it can come faster than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and no offense to calculus, but I think this class would have been a lot more useful to me
Yeah.
than
Right.
calculus.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, good luck. So are you gonna go right into the Army, or what are you gonna do?
Well, I'm not going like right as soon as school's over. I'm not gonna wait too long, but I'm just gonna try to get the whole summer just to enjoy myself. Fresh out of high school, try to have some fun.
Are you ready to cut that hair off? He's got a nice.
Oh, he's got a great. I was going to compliment him on his hair. I'm jealous.
Well, it was a little longer before, and not everyone liked it, so I got cut shorter. But I am due for another haircut, so
all right.
I'll have to put that in the budget.
And with that,
and the bells are proof that we were live on the scene here at Northern High School.
I liked our bell in high school. It was so much kinder. It was like ding. This
one's like a reality check.
Get up. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Good luck
Thanks,
to you.
Jordan. All right. Joining us now, Hannah Slothauer, also a senior.
Correct.
Also has a job.
Correct.
And you already were able to apply this in real life. So share that story with us.
Well, in the beginning of the year, like she said, the first foundation we learned was to have an emergency fund. And again, I didn't think it was that important at my age to have money set aside for an accident to happen because I didn't really have a lot of stuff that I paid for. But then once I turned 18, I realized like I did have stuff. And so I did save a fund, and then I actually got in a car accident in April. Oh, no. And of course, my senior year, stuff's coming up, prom, senior week, all these things are happening at the same time. And thankfully, I had that fund because I did have to pay my deductible. And if I did not have that fund saved, I would not be able to experience senior year the same way with prom and graduation and everything happening. So
I'm sure your parents are thankful that they are not considered your emergency fund.
I'm sure they were actually very proud of you.
Yeah, they were.
I would be like, that is awesome. I remember when I was 16, I had to pay for my gas and my car insurance. I did not have an emergency fund. One time I was $100 short on my car insurance, and I borrowed from my parents' coin jug. Ooh.
Did they know you borrowed from their coin jug?
I just thought their money was my money. Like that's what I thought. Oh no, I got in big trouble.
You learned a real life lesson.
I learned a real life lesson. So that's why I think that's great that you were already able to, not that it happened, but that you were already able to take care of yourself. So were you surprised at how much of the population is in debt? I'm sure you guys have talked about that.
Yes, I was. I guess I just didn't realize how. I have a debit card. I don't have a credit card, but I didn't realize that whenever someone swipes, it's a credit card. Mm-hmm. Like up until this year, I didn't even know what the difference was. Right. So I'd had no idea that all this time people are just using credit cards. And I worked at a retail store once, and again, I didn't even know the difference. I would just like go through the motions, but now I'm realizing most of the people are using a credit card.
And you're like, you're paying $20 for the shirt now, but you'll probably end up paying $30 for that shirt.
Right.
What's your most surprising takeaway from this class that you want other people to know or experience?
My most surprising takeaway is how much you can have at retirement if you invest like at my age or even in your 20s after college. I didn't realize how much your money can grow just with a little bit you put in, how much over time it can give you.
Can we get a time machine and have these guys go back in time and talk to us when we were their age?
Exactly, and time is the key. It doesn't even matter the amount that
Right.
you're putting in, just over time it compounds, it grows.
Before you took this class, would you have known how to write a check or endorse a check?
Well, again, I did work at a retail store, so I
you
know
had that.
I know a little bit, but I never used checks or so.
Right.
Well,
It
and knowing
definitely-
the why makes a big
Right.
difference too, right?
True.
I'm wondering about your friends. Talk to me about, what do they seem to have a good grasp on debt and the dangers of debt and need to be thinking towards retirement? You seem to be an anomaly in that regard.
Right. I think now most people my age are just broke, but it's not
Most
a big
people our age are broke.
like they don't think about it like we'll make plans to go somewhere and they'll be like, oh, I can't go, I don't have money, but like it's not like they're paying for anything else. Like they don't have food to feed, like they don't have other people to give money to. They're only
Right.
dependent on themselves. Their parents pay their phone, car, they probably have to pay for their gas, but it's not a big deal if you're broke at my age. And I think this class is like taught us that whenever you are older and you're broke, it is a much bigger deal.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of other people because these are really important lessons to learn because you will use them your entire life. And knowing the decisions and the possible consequences is great. We just didn't talk about that, and my parents never really talked about it. So it's great that you guys are doing that. Thanks so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Good luck to you. So I have a question. So when I'm in college, I learned all about Aristotle and St. Thomas Aquinas, history, how to calculate the area of an isosceles triangle, which I've not used since the classroom. But yet this type of stuff was not taught wholesale. Why is that, and is that a mistake? I mean, this should be something that when you're getting out of either high school or college, people should know how to do this stuff.
I absolutely agree with you. I think a lot of times colleges are they're selling education, and they're giving you the education you need for your career, not necessarily for your personal life. So, I mean, I think there is a disservice somewhere along the line, but where is that? Do we teach it in high school? Do we teach it in college? Are your parents supposed to teach you this stuff? So it's really hard to tell where it fits in.
Well, and in high school, personal finance isn't on any state testing. There's no AP test to get those credits for college. So as we kind of look at the quote, practical things to learn, this is about as practical as you can get. But when you're not getting tested on it, maybe there's less incentive to make it a requirement.
And debt really can be so dangerous. I mean, I had a friend I thought $1,500 of credit debt was bad. By the time she graduated, she had $20,000.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, when she figured out making the minimum payment, she was going to be like in her 40s till she could pay that off. And when she told me that on the phone, I was like, whoa.
I'm thinking I know who bought the drinks every Thursday night.
Right.
Great for everyone else, not so much for your friend.
So the one thing I wanted to touch on is how you talked to them about retirement already. But one of the things, it's not how much, it's how long that money's in there. So explain that for people. I mean, it might be too late for some of us, but for those still out
Not
there.
too late for me.
Right, yeah.
Well, if you're familiar with the rule of 72, you take the number 72 and you divide it by the interest rate that you would be receiving. So maybe at a bank, you might be getting 1%. So 72 divided by that 1% equals 72. It's going to take your money 72 years to double. So $100 in the bank for 72 years. Now you have $200.
Wow.
Right.
But if the stock market's doing 10%,
You're still getting 1% at the bank.
no, I understand. But if it's in the stock market,
Yes.
the rule of 72.
Right. So if it's in mutual funds is what we recommend, then and they're making 10%, you get 7.2 years till your money doubles. The higher that percentage, the faster your money doubles. So that's why we're saying the longer you're in, the more doubling periods you'll have throughout your working career.
I remember my first job, I chose not to put money because I felt like I needed the money now.
Right.
Yes.
I bet a lot of people make that mistake.
So anybody out there, if your employer is offering a match on a 401k,
Do it.
you need to do it to the max. Otherwise, you're leaving money on the table.
That's
that is, they're
right.
offering to give you money. If you put your money up, I'll match your money for your retirement.
That's free money.
It's
Take
free
it.
money.
Yes.
Take it. There you go.
So how would when your students walk out of this class, what is your hope for them as they move forward?
My hope for them is to have a plan moving forward, and beyond just their finances, but a budget for their money, an idea of what they want to do with the rest of their life. You heard Hannah say she wasn't sure what she wanted to do. We do career exploration. We do interview skills. We go over all those different options that our students have now. And I just want them to have an idea of what lies at their fingertips, moving forward.
Are we seeing a sea change? I have to tell you, I was just a very brief sample here. Maybe 6 kids said they're seniors, and not one of them said, yeah, I'm going to Penn State next year. And it's now April of their senior year. Is there more of wait and see, don't want to jump into all that college debt, let me figure out what it is I want to do? A couple of kids have talked about hack, which is not a bad idea. You go 2 years to hack and then maybe to a Penn State or some other school. The diploma still says Penn State,
Get the gen eds out of the way at the community college where it's a lot cheaper.
So are you seeing a shift in and these students are the consumers of college now, right? Are you seeing a shift in there? Because in my day, almost every kid knew exactly by April, by now, you knew where you were going and, were
and
making
it was a 4-year
plans.
school.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do see a shift in that. There's a lot of students who, and for different reasons, some of them look at it at the debt, like they don't want to be in debt. They don't know how they're going to pay for college. Others, they really don't know what they want to do, and they see that when they choose a major, they feel like they're being locked into that for life. I'm a math major. I went to Shippensburg. I'm math certified, and I'm teaching personal finance. I'm not teaching calculus or algebra. I teach personal finance, and I love every minute of it.
Those are two words that will never be applied to Dennis Owens. Math certified. Not happening.
Well, but to your bigger point, though, I do think, on one hand, it's good to understand what you're getting into. But on another hand, sometimes I think maybe we do too good of a job of teaching kids about the consequences of those choices, because then they think, well, if I do this, there's only one path I can possibly follow, without showing some of the flexibility that one path can diverge into many.
That's right. And I try to show them their options too when they pick a career field or, broadly choose a field, and then give them the options. Well, hey, you could do this, this, or this, and show the different ways their path could go.
Yeah, I wish we would have had this class, and I'm glad. I'm glad that.
Can we just show up and take it?
I know.
Is that an option? That might be frowned upon.
If you can get past the security at the front, which I'm thinking you can't.
No.
Well, I appreciate your time, and good luck with this class. I hope they make it a requirement for seniors.
Yeah.
I think they would all benefit from it. I'd also like to see other school districts pick up on
Is this all you teach, or do you teach traditional math
No,
classes
I
as
teach
well?
geometry as well.
Okay.
Yes.
I like geometry.
I
The
did not do
isosceles
well with
triangle thing,
geometry.
you
Yes,
get
I got
that.
you.
Trigonometry, that was good.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Shannon Trossel, math teacher, Northern York High School, personal finance. She's fighting debt across the county, across the world, keeping those kids out of debt. I should have met you 40 years ago or 20 years ago.
Have you mentioned the P word to your children? I wish somebody would have with me. Pension, so you're a teacher, you're getting a pension.
right. Yes.
And there are some careers out there that have those.
That's
that again,
right.
it's hard to get an 18-year-old to care about that, right?
Yeah.
But it's important. It's a big deal.
It is, yes. And we talk about the three major components to what you survive on when you retire, and that is Social Security, pensions, and then your personal savings.
Right.
Social Security, they're saying, is almost a thing of the past. Pensions are also, weaning.
Yeah, in
They're-
the private sector, they almost don't exist.
That's
in the public
right.
sector.
So you're going to be left with your personal savings and the choices that you make as a young adult and moving forward.
Next time I go to buy my Starbucks coffee, I'm going to say, do I really need this?
I'll be right there on your shoulder. Do you need that coffee?
This could go into my savings. Thanks again for being here. If you'd like to check out the links to the stories, articles, and videos we discussed, you can find them in our show notes on our website, abc27.com. To get on Deadline delivered directly to your phone, tablet, or computer each week, subscribe in iTunes or Google Play Music. Record your thoughts, questions, and suggestions about episodes and voice memos on your phone and email them to us at theinvestigators@abc27.com. Please take a few minutes and leave us a review in iTunes. It helps our podcast reach other people and helps us figure out what we can improve on. Thank you, Eric Semmel, for traveling all the way to Dillsburg, Pennsylvania to produce this podcast, and Jason Dietz for composing and recording the music. It is time for us to go. We're on Deadline. So are you headed off to work now?
Yes, I am.
Where do you work?
I work for my stepmom's company. It's called Enhance. It's a wood refinishing company.
Oh.
So I'm kind of a tech. So
Neat. Nice.
I fix cabinet doors.
Oh, cool. That's very cool.
I might need your phone number. I have a 6-year-old that likes to ruin cabinets.
Yeah, that's what we
Make them swing and they,
Keeping her in business.
And are you going to college, or are you going to stick with the tech stuff?
Right, for the summer, I'm going to stick with the tech stuff. I'm kind of undecided on what I want to do for the rest of my life. So my plan was to go to Hack and go undecided, and they'll give me like a handful of classes, and I can see what I'm interested in.
Get those gen eds in.
I too am undecided on what to do with the rest of my life. Good luck to
Every
you.
couple years. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Nice to meet
Appreciate
you.
it.